Hi, I'm Ron Bender from JR Marine. We're going to give you some easy steps on checking your gimbal ring to see if the ring's bad and what it could be. If your boat is sitting there and you move the ring back and forth like this and you have this much play, this is an excessive wear. The U-bolt is stretched, the gimbal ring has loosened up on the swivel shaft, and if you put your finger at the top of the gimbal ring and have somebody lift up and down on the drive, you'll see excessive play between the housing and the ring itself. It's wobbling in and out. At this point, it needs to be repaired. It could also be the steering lever is also loose on the swivel shaft at the same time, but at this point, you do need to disassemble it. All right, the first step before you disassemble it, take your trim button in the boat and trim your drive up until the trim stops. Go ahead, Kenny. Now, this is where the trim stopped automatically. You want to measure between the center line of the two pins, center to center, and this boat is at 22 inches. That's a number that you're going to need to know when you reassemble it. Now, the first step in removing the drive is going to be to pull your plastic caps off the back of the trim cylinders. You're going to use a 5/8 wrench in a socket, and you're going to remove one nut. Will come off all the way. You'll remove this nut to where you can pull your back trim bar out of the tail end of the drive, and then you will remove 6 5/8 nuts on the 4 on the top of the drive and 2 down here. At that point, you'll take the drive and wiggle it, and the drive will pull back. At that point, there's a little clip in here that's hooked to the shifter cable, and you'll move that top of the clip up a little bit, and the drive will slide right out. Okay, we've removed all the nuts from the drive. We've taken the nuts off the tailstock of the trim rams. And now at this point, all you have to do is wiggle the drive backwards. Here, let's pull it out for a second. All the way. All right, back in. Come on in. Okay, the drive will come back, and your shifter lever will be inside of here. All you have to do is, you'll see it lift up on the little jaw. Okay, back up. And okay, pick it out. All right, and pick up. And the drive will come right out. Keep going. U-joint will come out, and now at that point you'll have a speedo pickup in here. You twist it and pull straight up. It's a yellow fitting, and then the drive will come completely off. At this point, you've got your drive off. Okay, now once the drive is off, we have some things that we have to remove. First, you're going to have to remove the exhaust bellows. This exhaust bellows is an accordion type. It'll have a clamp on both sides, the front and the rear. Using a 5/16 swivel socket, you can get both clamps off and remove and pull this bellows out. Then you're going to have to take the U-joint bellows out. U-joint ring, the bellows ring here, you can grab it with a slide hammer and give it a crack, a little knock back. If it doesn't want to come out, take a screwdriver underneath the ring, pry it up, and pop it out. You can buy a ring separately. They only cost a few dollars. Okay, now we've removed the exhaust bellows. We've unloosened the clamp to the U-joint bellows. We've pulled out the retaining ring for the U-joint bellows in the front. Now you stick a screwdriver right under the U-joint bellows, lift up on it, and just push back. And the U-joint bellows will pop right out of there, just like that. Then what you have to do and it's a real tight fit. You have to work that U-joint bellows down like this, and you'll keep compressing it, pushing it in until you can remove the U-joint bellows complete. One additional thing is, before you can get the U-joint bellows out, use a 7/16 deep well and take your shifter cable, move the shifter cable with your shifter at the front of the boat so the cable comes inward. It's a 7/16 deep well, and on the back side of the shifter cable, there's a hex nut that's, what size is that hex nut?
5/8.
A 5/8 hex that you can use actually a split line wrench to hold it so the cable doesn't turn. When you take the nut off, then you can push the shift cable out of the housing like that, and then you'll be able to take your U-joint bellows, pull the bellows down and remove the U-joint bellows. It is a little tight and you got to fight with it, but you have to get it out of here. And we'll be right back as soon as I get this thing out. Now that we've got the U-joint bellows removed, we've got the shifter cable pushed back. There's a plastic water line insert on the ID diameter of your incoming water line. This boat is fairly new and it's not real bad corroded in, but if you take a thin screwdriver and you go in between the plastic insert and the water line, being careful not to punch a hole in the water line, you can take and crack the plastic and then take a pair of needle nose pliers and remove, normally the water hose will sit there, you remove the plastic insert. And then you can take the water line and push it back and push it out of the bell housing. At that point, what we need to do is we're going to remove the side pivot pins with a Phillips screwdriver, remove both screws off your electronic senders for your trim. Most boats are corroded, and if you're probably 80% of the time you'll break the screws. If the screws break, don't worry. It's just the way it goes. Remove both senders, and then we're going to take the side pivot pins out. Okay, once you've removed the trim sending units, make sure they're out of the way, and take a Mercury does make a hinge pin tool, they call it, but you can use a 1/2-inch Allen on a socket, on a ratchet. Take a torch. On the inside of the bell housing, you'll see the pivot pin coming through. These pivot pins are put in with red Loctite. If you don't warm them up, when you remove the pin, you've got a high possibility of tearing the threads out of the bell housing. So take a torch, and be careful you don't burn any wires or anything else. And you're going to heat up the inside of the aluminum ear to loosen up the red Loctite. Once that ear's warmed up, you take crack the pivot pin loose and back the pin all the way out of the bell housing. Do the same procedure on the opposite side. Okay, once you've removed the two side pivot pins, do not grab the bell housing and just pull it straight out. You have an oil line that's hooked to the back of the bell housing that goes up to the oil bottle inside your transom. Where it goes into the transom, it's only a plastic fitting. And if you pull on this too hard, you'll break the nipple off. So reach in here with a pair of wire cutters. And cut the oil line in half. Like so, and then the bell housing will come right out. have a bucket or a pan or something underneath here, because the oil in the bottle under the hatch is going to empty and run out. And at that point, at this point, we're ready to use our stainless cover kit to cut a hole in the top of the transom assembly so we can remove the swivel shaft. Okay, now to use JR Marine's cover plate kit, take the cover plate template and cut the cover plate out with a pair of scissors. The bottom of the casting on the top of the transom assembly, center this template on the edge of that casting, straight across, set it on here and tape it right onto the transom like that, using Scotch tape. Now that the template is there, we're going to take a center punch, and we're going to center punch the 4 bolt hole patterns, and we're going to center punch the actual opening in all the little circles. It'll take you probably 15 minutes or so to get all this done, and then we're going to pre-drill all these holes. So we'll start center punching, just like this. That's the 4 bolt hole pattern, and then go all around the opening of the cutout. Okay, once you've center punched all the holes of the opening and the 4 bolt hole patterns, we've supplied 2 3/32 drills. What you'll do is all the green center punches, drill those holes first, because behind the red ones is the swivel shaft. When you break through, you're probably going to break the drill. So go around and drill every hole. And you'll feel the drill pop through. That's when you stop. I do every hole around the bolt hole pattern. And once you go all the way around the opening, then use the, if you haven't broke your drill, do the red holes, and then the bolt hole, the opening of the cutout will be there. Then we supply a number 3 drill. Take the number 3 drill and drill your 4 bolt hole patterns that match the cover plate. And when you drill those, the casting's on a little bit of a curve, so imagine that the cover plate's sitting on there flat, and drill your bolt hole pattern square with the face of the transom assembly. And you're going to drill those in there, and then that'll be for a 1/4-28 tap. Okay, now we have drilled all the holes going around the cutout pattern. Now we're going to put the holes in the 4 bolt hole patterns. Take a piece of tape and wrap a piece of tape around the drill for the 7/16 depth, because you do not want to drill any deeper than that. Okay, that's 1 bolt hole. I'm going to do the other 3, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we've drilled the 4 bolt hole patterns. We've got all the drills through the cutout opening. In the cover plate kit, we have supplied a arbor and some little cutting discs for a Dremel with a 1/8 shank on it. If you choose, you can put this into a Dremel grinder and just connect the dots and kind of like scribe between all the holes that you made in the cutout. Or you can take a sharp chisel and between all the holes, you can take and punch it with a chisel between all the holes the best you can, and then just right in the middle. You'll start, the actual window opening will start to break out. Like so. And then once you get that, once the window breaks out, you'll have the swivel shaft and the swivel shaft nut and the steering bolt. The bolt going through the steering lever will be exposed. Okay, we also have a wrench kit. For $70, we've already pre-bent them, ground them, and once you're done using the wrench kit, you can mail it back to us and we'll give you a $55 refund. Take the two 5/8 wrenches and get it on the nut and the head of the bolt for the steering lever and start loosening the steering lever. You'll flip the wrenches back and forth until you can get the nut to loosen up. Just like that. You do a little bit at a time by flipping the wrenches, and you will get this thing loose. Then we give you an 1/16" wrench that you can start loosening up the nut on like the top of the swivel shaft like that, running the nut all the way up. Take a 9/16" wrench, unloosen the two nuts for the U-bolt, and then run the swivel shaft nut all the way to the top and then start working the swivel shaft until it comes out of it. Okay, we've gotten the steering lever nut loose. We've loosened the swivel shaft nut to the top. On the bottom of the ring, you have a cotter pin. Take the cotter pin, remove it, like so. The pin in the bottom of the ring will push straight out, like this. Loosen the top of the swivel shaft and keep working the shaft on there. They all don't come apart this easy. And out will come the swivel shaft. Before the ring will come out, take 5/8 wrench and take off the nuts off of each side of the back of the trim rams, and then just slide the trim rams off and let them hang down, and then the gimbal ring will slide straight out of it. We've gotten the transom assembly all cleaned up now. Now there's a couple things in case you can't get your bottom, if you can't get your bottom pin from when you remove the cotter pin. There's a way on saltwater rings and bad corroded ones. You can actually, you'll see that if you lift the ring up and down once you get the swivel shaft loose, there is enough room above the pin and below the pin to where you can take a Sawzall and come inside of here and be very careful, and you can actually cut right through the pin on the bottom, drop the ring down a little bit, and then come through on the top. That way you can cut the pin out, remove the ring, and then you would have to drill a little hole in the center of there'll be two little nubs left in the transom ears. You'll have to drill a hole down through those and keep getting the hole bigger and bigger until you get them out. Don't be hitting them with a sledgehammer. If you break one of these transom ears, you're putting a whole transom assembly in. Now, if you read my helpful hints, I don't know what year the transom assemblies changed from brass to a plastic bulkhead fitting. That's the line that goes up to your oil reservoir underneath your hatch. Right here, if you look in here, the plastic fitting, if you go to remove your bell housing and you pull it without cutting that line, you'll break the nipple off like this one is. Then you're in a little bit of trouble. So the easiest way to remove this is to take a 1/2-inch drill while it's still on the boat, drill through the plastic till the head comes off. And don't have it on ratchet. You'll take and drill through it. And as the head comes off, you'll fight with it a little bit. Right now, it'll actually push through the back of the boat. If you hold that back here, if you push through, yeah, we don't quite have it out of the right way. It'll push through the back of the boat, and you'll have your oil line on it. Then what you'll do is you take the new bulkhead fitting, and you'll have to put the right angle clip on it, put an E-clip on it, and slide this through. Well, you'll slide it through this side and put an E-clip blindfolded on the inside of the boat. It's a little tougher, but you can fix that problem. We'll come back with your last problem in a second. One of the other problems with saltwater rings or bad corrosion is once you get the hole opening, you can't get the nut off of the swivel shaft. And in that case, it's all rusted. You have a couple of options. You can take a 3/4 inch disc grinder. You can come in here and start working the nut off and getting the swivel shaft nut to split where you can get it in half in a couple pieces and notch it to where it can come loose. If you don't have something like this, there is always a possibility of packing this with rags and laying a torch on it and getting it hot. See if it'll move, or actually blowing it off, but you don't want to catch your boat on fire. That's your last resort option. If it's that corroded, it's a possibility that the transom assembly is no good. If the transom assembly is corroded bad, you want to look at the upper edge inside of here. There's a little thicker stainless washer sits on top of this edge, and if the swivel shaft seal that's right in here has been leaking, in salt water, it will actually eat this transom out. If this top edge of the inside of the transom casting is gone, then there's pretty much no hope for the transom assembly anymore. You're probably going to need a new one. So we're going to come back in a minute. We're going to put everything and start running everything back together, show you how to make some adjustments when it goes back together. We've got it all cleaned up. We've got a rebuilt ring we're going to put into it. One of JR Marine swivel shafts, stainless ones, that won't rust and corrode and tear the seals out as quick as the mercury ones do. And we'll be right back. Okay, now we're going to remove and install the seal in the lower wear bushing. The seal is right here. You can just pop that seal out. It'll pop out just like a seal on your trailer bearings or something. And then above that seal is a wear bushing that goes around the swivel shaft. We have our own tool to take it out with that we've made, but this happens to be a 24 millimeter Craftsman socket on a 1/2 inch drive. Fits that area real well. And now this boat, the hull transom happens to be cut not quite tall enough where that bushing wants to come out. So we're going to have to kick over the steering lever, if it will, and try to get this bushing out. It's almost out right now. I'll just kink it over a little bit, drop it out to the motor. And I get another call from a boater wanting to have some more help. If this happens to you, you just have to work on it and get this wear bushing slid out from underneath the steering lever. I'll get it done here. We'll be right back. Okay, we got that wear bushing out of the top. If the transom isn't cut high enough, the steering lever doesn't want to come up high enough to let that little wear bushing come out, so you got to kink it and get it out of there. Now it's time to put the new wear bushing in. The wear bushing's got a seam in it. Make sure the seam is to the left or to the right. You don't want the pressure of the swivel shaft working on the seam. So you stick this in there. We have a little tool for it. You can use the back of the socket. And you press this wear bushing in just till it comes to the top of the transom assembly on the inside. You cannot protrude over top of it. Right there. Okay, our wear bushing is in. Now we're going to put the seal in. I suggest you use, when you put the seal in, some of the transoms have when they put the seal in, they got a notch, 3 little notches that they stake over. You have to grind them little notches off or else you'll mess up the seal. Once you get that cleaned up, put some 271 Loctite around the seal area. This will help the seal stay in and seal it from any water or corrosion starting around it. And the spring goes up. When you put this in, the spring goes up into the transom assembly. Just like that. Now your seal's in, the new wear bushing is in. And we're going to be back in a second to show you the gimbal ring and the bellows is going in.